Hello everyone and welcome back to VoIP Knowledge. In this video, I'm going to show you the beta firmware release of Grandstream GWN 7001-2-3 routers update. So the beta firmware version is 1.0.11.6, and in this firmware, major updates are here so you can see. And so let me quickly taken to you the release note. So this is the release note for 1.0.11.6 beta firmware, and in this here you can see changes enhancement. So I have highlighted some specific updates. So the first update is allow VLAN 2 to be used. So in the previous firmware, VLAN 2 is not allowed to be added in the router, and now you can add VLAN 2 as well. Next feature is optimize VPN web UI configuration for PPTP, OpenVPN, L2TP, and IPSec and Wireguard. Similarly, next option is port forwarding configuration. So some of the options has been moved for port forwarding in the advanced net configuration option. Then going next to the optimize client list filtering. So you can filter the client by status, whether they are offline or online. Now the next point is GWN 7000 series maximum number of AP supported command line open to 300. So in the previous firmwares, the maximum supported access points are 150. Now it supports 300 access points. And the next point is support for switch management. Now you can manage switch like access point. So from here in the router, you can manage the switches and configure their some of specific configurations. Now the next is very important and major update in Grandstream routers. Added support for dynamic routing, OSPF, RIP, and BGP. So these are the majorly used ISP segment routing protocols. Now the next point is added VPN configuration wizard. So you can configure the VPN by setup wizard if you are newer. Now the next point is added support for 6G band. So now you can set the 6G band for access point from the routers as well. Added support for bypass splash page in captive portal policy. Similarly, support for captive portal on wired network. So now if someone connected through the LAN network on the PC or laptop, so they will be first authenticate via the captive portal page. Once they authenticated, then they can access the internet. And previously it was only supported for the Wi-Fi access points. Now Grandstream optimized their firmware and it is added in the wired network as well. So the next point is added support for exporting .ovpn files. Previously, we have no option to export the .ovpn file. We need to export single files like .ca certificate, .crt certificate, and .key certificate file, and then need to merge them manually. Now coming to the next point, which is added standby mode in policy routing. So like we have two options in the policy routing, backup and load balance. Now third option is added standby mode. The next option is added IP address and IP address group profile. The next option is added FQDN and FQDN group profile. And the next point is added support for configure black hole for static routes. And now the last point is fix some VPN issues. Now I'll show you the features from router login. So I have Grandstream GWN 7002, and here in the dashboard you can see the new option added for switches. So you can now manage switch and see switch configuration and configure specific settings on. So in the WAN option, if you select triple PoE option, so you will have new option as well, triple PoE service name. In the previous firmwares, triple PoE account and triple PoE password option is already available. Now they have added triple PoE service name because some of the service providers accept connection with service name as well. So we have to fill this name and then only internet connectivity happen on the router. So now in the LAN option, as you can see here, captive portal for LAN connection. So if you have created captive portal, so you can enable or disable this. If you want captive portal for clients or guests, so you can enable it, and the client and guest can be first authenticated and then they can be access the internet. So in the warning option, you can see it is not recommended to use it together with SSID portal authentication after it is enabled. If used with GWN AP, please go to captive portal policy option to set the AP device that require bypass. So we have to bypass the access point MAC address and policy option of captive portal, and then if you create that policy, then you can add here. Select that policy, then guest will be first landed to the captive portal page, and then they can be authenticated. And in the client option, you can enable or disable status detection. So if you enable, the online and offline status of wire device will be detected in real time through ping packets. This may increase the power consumption of the client. If disabled, the online and offline status of wired client will be delayed by 10 minutes. So if you disable this, the status will be reflected in 10 minutes. It will not be seamlessly sync. Now going into the VPN option and the setup wizard. So here you can configure Wireguard, IPSec, OpenVPN, PPTP, L2TP, Wireguard, or any VPN by just clicking on the VPN option and then go to step-by-step process. So it will ask you first whether you want to configure site to site or client to site, and then you can configure accordingly. So it will just give you the details, steps, select scene, configuration protocol, configuration overview, and then finish. Similarly, you can configure for other VPN profiles as well, like OpenVPN. So if you want to configure client to site or site to site, so choose that particular option and then configure accordingly. So fill the server, port number, WAN interface, authentication mode, certificate or user authentication, and then select certificates and then give the subnet of remote site. Or if you have the knowledge of VPN, you can configure manually. And now if I show you OpenVPN server, so the tunnel IP address will be filled automatically. Previously in the other firmwares, the option is blank, so we have to fill it manually. or you can change it according to your external network IP. And if you create VPN users, then you can export the VPN file from here as well. So like you create some profile and then select create the cert client, and then you can export from here .ovpn file for particular user. And now the most important and major update, which is OSPF, RIP and BGP routing protocols. So these are added here in the beta firmware. Now in the policy routes, we have one more option, standby mode. So if I show you the mode definition, so in the standby mode, when the preferred interface fails, it will switch to the standby interface to ensure that the network is always online. So we can configure standby mode as well. And in the static route option, if I add a route, so we have one more option here, black hole. Black hole means we can send unwanted traffic to a virtual destination which we want to discard in the network. So you can see here, used to direct traffic destined for a specific location to a black hole, that is a virtual drop point where the traffic will be discarded instead of being forwarded to any destination in the network. Similarly, the new feature option added here, switch management. So we can add the switch here, or we can take over. Then we can configure the switches. If we want to configure radius, voice VLAN, multicast, DSCP snooping, 802.11x, and jumbo frame settings. And if we want to add the VLAN for switches, and we can give the native VLAN, allowed VLAN, voice VLAN, ingress, egress, storm control, port isolation, port security. So there are options which we can configure to the switches. Now in the port forwarding, if you have already some port forwarding rules created in the router in the previous firmware, so in the if you upgrade into the beta firmware, previous rules will be moved in firewall advanced net option, and you can see them in the advanced net and DNet option. So they will be moved here instead of access, external access and port forwarding. So you can add new port forwarding rules in the port forwarding as well, or whether in the advanced net DNet option. So now in captive portal, in policy option, we can bypass MAC group here. So these MAC will be bypassed and they will not be landed on the captive portal page like company or organization employees, and we add here and select here, then they will get the internet instantly without getting a landing page for captive portal. And these MAC address group can be created in the profile option and the MAC group option. So here we can add MAC addresses. So if already some of the clients are connected here, so we can select here from the available devices, or we can add manually MAC addresses here in the option and just click add. So you can add multiple MAC addresses here. So we seen the MAC address group in the beta firmware. Now the next option added here is IP address group. IP address 4 group IPv6 address, IPv6 address group. So these rule can be selected in the port forwarding or DNet options. Let me show you. So if I create a rule, so we can select here source IP address. So we can select here IP address or IP address group. And similarly in the advanced net, source net or DNet. So we can select here source IP address type, IP address, IPv subnet, IPv4 address, IPv4 address group. And previously the certificate option is in the system setting option, but now it has been moved in the profile option. So you can see the certificate here, and if you want to like previously we can export CA and CA key, so we can have the option of export PAM file as well. So we can export the PAM file. So you can see here the PAM file is exported. Similarly, we can export client certificate as well in the same way. Export certificate, export key, or export certificate and key. So it will create a single .pem file, and the other option is FQDN. So we can create FQDN here and FQDN address group. So give a name, FQDN address, and the manual IP address. So these are the major update of beta firmware. If I say the major update is routing protocols, which are OSPF, RIP, and BGP, which has to be added before in the previous firmwares, but no issue, it has been added in the beta firmware. So now you can implement in your network and use these features in the beta firmware. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe the channel and hit the like button if you like this video. Thank you.